first business I built was bootstrapped. I didn't know there was a bootstrap term back then, but it was 15 years ago or even more than that. And I just built it on my own. It was completely solo hacked, and I sold it uh, to a competitor in just 1 year. So it was going really well, and I sold it to a competitor in 1 year. And then I kind of made enough money to spend the next 10 years building things on a pursuit of not money, but the other things. And I wasted everything I earned in the next 10 years. So I invested that into other startups, a lot of startups, like angel investing. I invested that into my own startups. I invested that into crypto, into stock market, and everything has failed.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing great. I'm looking forward for this chat today.
Yeah, thank you for coming to building businesses on JavaScript. I really admire your work online. I think our very first interactions were on a project of yours. Before we get started into everything, let's for people who don't know John Rush, who would you tell them that you are? Like, how would you introduce yourself? Hello there, friend. So it has come to my attention that about 95% of the people who watch the videos on this channel don't subscribe. My goal is to get that number down to 50%. So if you're watching this video and you've liked it so far, please do consider hitting that subscribe button. I would really appreciate if you do. Now let's get back into the video.
I'm the VC-backed founder who gave up on the VC-backed path as a startup founder and pivoted into being a bootstrap founder and fell in love with it. So I'm a bootstrap founder who's running a lot of projects, SaaS projects and no-code platforms and directories. So my vision is to build tools for other busy founders to make them more productive and help them to compete against the bigger guys like corporates and VC-backed startups. So I'm representing the bootstrap movement now.
Yeah, so you're representing the underdog now, which is indie
Yeah,
hackers and
yeah.
people who just want to build businesses the way businesses have always been built, which is like for profit and no VC money at the early stage. I like it. Um, so
Yes.
what's a fun fact about you?
Uh, the fun fact is that the first business I built was bootstrapped. I didn't know there was a bootstrap term back then, but it was 15 years ago or even more than that. And I just built it on my own. It was completely solo hacked, and I sold it uh, to a competitor in just 1 year. So it was going really well, and I sold it to a competitor in 1 year. And then I kind of made enough money to spend the next 10 years building things on a pursuit of not money, but the other things. And I wasted everything I earned in the next 10 years. So I invested that into other startups, a lot of startups, like angel investing. I invested that into my own startups. I invested that into crypto, into stock market, and everything has failed that I done. Everything. I lost all crypto because it was hacked by the stock exchange, and then I lost the stock investment because I did certain trading in the wrong direction when the markets were moving up and down, and then all investments I made, they all failed because startups fail. But in my case, I invested everything in Norwegian startups. In Norwegian startups did really bad after COVID, and almost everything I owned failed. So that's the fun part that I started as a bootstrap founder without even knowing I'm a bootstrap founder, and I succeeded there. And then I entered VC-backed world, and I spent 10 years, and I failed nearly everything I've done there, except one company. So one company did well, and then I returned back into bootstrap world, and things started going really well after, and nothing has failed so far. So I started 24 projects, and all of them are doing well. A lot of them are doing over 30K MRR and growing really well. So that's kind of fun part that most people don't know, that I started as a Bootstrap founder when I was 18 years old or even 16 years old.
Oh, wow. That's quite young. And it's quite interesting how, because like just like you said, after you move from Bootstrap to VC, the startups failed, the investments failed. And one thing I know is that the most common outcome, most founders will not agree to this, but the most common outcome for any business is failure.
Yeah.
Success is the rare case, right? So it's sort of like having that mindset. It's has actually changed the way I see things, because everyone is starting businesses, especially indie hackers. Everyone is building stuff, and sometimes you see the volume tends to like compensate for the failure rate, because if you check the success rate, it's going to be like maybe 2% if you're even lucky, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always common to fail, right?
It is. It is. That's, if you don't fail, something went wrong. I would say something went totally not usual, and that's an
Yeah.
outlier rather than the
Yeah.
destiny. So, but I think it's, if you look at building startups as a long-term game, like 10 years or 20 years, then there is very low chance to never succeed if you keep
Mm,
doing it for a long time, right? But then the question, what exactly are you doing all these 10 years? So if you're just trying to build MVPs for 10 years and you just spend a month on each and move to the next, the only thing you're going to learn in those 20 years is to build MVPs, but you will never learn the other things like growing, marketing, distribution, and things like that. So one thing a lot of indie hackers get really wrong is that they think that quantity alone will help. They think that if they launch 24 startups in 2 years, they will eventually, one will succeed because Mark Liu or Peter Levels say that that happened to them, right? But the
mhm,
reality is that you have to increase your skill set over time. So in the
mm,
first years, you learn to build MVPs. In the second year, you learn to do SEO. In the third year, you
mhm,
learn to do cold sales. In the fourth year, you learn UX, etc. So if you keep learning the new things, then at some point you will know everything. And I think for
mm,
a startup founder to succeed, there is no other way than to learn all the skills needed. And once you have all the skills needed, then the chance of success is suddenly not 2%, but maybe 20%, and then 50%, and eventually it's even 100%. Like if you take
mm.
experienced founders like myself or Peter or Mark Liu, it's very rare you will see one of us launching a project that fails. Right. So for
Yeah.
us, odds are different now. Why? Because we have learned a lot. So that's kind of
Mhm.
my key takeaway from this: build a lot of startups and see what sticks. I think that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to build a lot of
Yeah.
startups for the sake of gaining experience. And that's why if you just
Mhm.
do the same thing over and over again, you will not gain experience in the fields you need, such as marketing and sales. So that's why if you do a lot of startups, make sure in every startup you try different skill set. Like in one startup, push hard on development, in one push hard on design, on the other push hard on SEO, etc. And then
Mm,
you're gonna be complete founder.
mm. That is brilliant. So I think that one thing I really like that you said about this building quantity over quality is that most of the quantity are just MVPs. Like you'd know that okay, this is just meant. It's more like a hype-driven sort of stuff. So once you launch and then everything dies down, you go on to the next. And
Yeah.
I feel it depends on what you want from a business. Like it took me almost 4 5 years to launch another product after Salescast, which is my first ever product as well. Like because I just wanted I wasn't building a business sort of like to just go through all the different ideas I have and just move on with the next. I wanted something that would last. So I think maybe there's a culture there, because once you have a business, right? And let's say it's not picking up steam as you'd want. There are no more users. It's not making money. I feel you could iterate on it. If it's a good idea, like at least you know that, okay,
Yeah.
this is not like a terrible idea. Like you know that, okay, there should be, this just need more work instead of like, okay, this needs to be canned. But now there's this idea, like when do you know what is to be canned? How long can you wait to like, okay, I need to stop this and go on to the next thing?
Yeah.
Or when do you like just keep at it? Because we've seen businesses that were hated when they start, like even ideas even that were hated when they started, but now because the maker kept at it, now it's popular and everybody like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're touching the right thing in this topic, which is if you always quit too early with a project, then the only way to succeed is to be lucky. And that's not what you want, right? If you want to be lucky and win, then you go for lottery tickets. That's why I think the way to approach this is you should try to build things. You should give it a time, few months, and you should look at the signals. Like some signals gonna tell you that this is a terrible idea. For example, if it's been 3 months and you share this on the internet, you send an email to someone, you shared with a friend, and nobody even signed up once, that's a good sign that this is a bad idea, or you're not able to present the idea in a good way, right? Both cases mean that you should kind of quit this because it's not kind of yours. There has to be something that's closer to your heart. But if you have some signals, and often you have some signals, very often, then your next steps are to try to progress and learn more on how to communicate it, how to narrow down the features, how to change the message, and how to kind of promote this so that people like what you promote. Because the chance that the idea itself is bad is very low, because most makers do not build something totally groundbreaking. Like most makers building something that exists. And if the existing business is making money, why are you even validating the idea if it's already making money, right? It's been validated already. So your goal is not to validate the idea, but your goal is to understand whether you are capable of running this idea. That's the first step. So you're not validating the idea, you're validating your ability to promote and to communicate this idea. And if you see that you're capable of it, at least in some sort, then the next step for you is to keep hammering this whole idea, changing the wording, slightly pivoting the whole thing until you see that it clicks more with people. And once it clicks more, and there will be not a case where it suddenly clicks with everyone, it'll be just improving. Like one day you change something. For example, you were building an analytics tool, right? And then for everyone. And one day you realize that people running e-commerce stores are more interested in this than the other people. And suddenly you say that I'm building an analytics tool for e-commerce store owners. So it's the same idea, the same technology, but now you have different wording, different positioning, and suddenly it gets either viral or just starts being shared in that community. Right. So that's my advice for founders. Do not try to, like, imagine you're building a house and your goal is to build a skyscraper, but the only thing you do for like 20 years, you're building little cabins, one after the other, one after the other. So you will never learn the things you have to know to build a skyscraper because you build just a cabin one after the other. So same here, like, do not try to jump from project to project. Instead, maybe try few, like maximum 3 projects, and then pick one of 3 as the one you like the most, and go with that project really deep, like way deeper, and spend years with that project trying to learn new skills around that project. Because in that case, you accumulate things. Like you have the same project, but you accumulate. Like if you've built this project already, then there's no case for you to build it again because it's built. So now you have no choice, but you have to do other things. You have to do things you don't like to do because we like to build stuff, and if we start new project, we're so excited because we can build it again, right? And then we're never excited with the next part, which is marketing. But if the project has been built and there is no more code to write, then you have no choice but do marketing, content creation, SEO, sales, etc.
Spot on. So, as you were saying everything about this, especially the skyscraper, then you're gonna do like little cabins and all that. I was just thinking on depth versus breadth, because most times when people start multiple projects, it's more breadth, like do with like how many can I accumulate in such time? And like you said, the goal is one of these will be lucky, because of course, even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? So it's gonna work. Like if you just keep trying, you could make catch from like a couple, but if you're gonna do depth, which is, I think that's the hard thing, right? It's and it's actually simpler to go deeper than it is to do a lot of things, because by simple I mean you've built the tech, right? You've built your MVP. Now you just get to iterate. You just get to do Kaizen on it, which is continuously like improving it, making it better, getting feedback, doing the actual boring work, which I think
Yeah.
it's not it's not popular. No one will tell you how you're going to code DM a couple of people, how you're going to send emails, how you're going to do SEO research, how you're going to write a lot of articles, how you're going to go on interviews, how you just going to like pitch people. In fact, like really beg people to care about your stuff in order for them to try it and all that. So this part of business is not highlighted enough. And in the indie hacking culture, today's indie hacking that I see, the highlight is more on the launch and the fancy tech, that you use. But
Yeah.
the business part of it, which is what really makes the money, is not spotlighted enough for people to even care. And that's why the whole culture of like just blowing through everything. And in the open source world, I actually see similarities where you build a package just because you know you can, and then folks start using it, and then you abandon it, and then it's
Yeah.
no maintained, no one is like, it's just abandoned. So when you build, like, I think it's going to make users a little bit skeptical, because we don't know when you're going to stop working on this project. And now if I really need this thing you're building and I'm invested in using it, and then you just wake up and be like, well, it's not making enough money, even though I have users that are using it and are loyal, I'm going to have to close it and move on to the next thing. And then they're going to be like, oh, indie hackers, they don't really build to last, So
Yeah.
it's just going to lead. I think it's already there where people don't really trust most of these projects because it's all fancy and bubbling, but now it's not going to be around. Is it going to be around in the next year even?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're making a really good point, and I've made a point last week too, where I said that indie hackers should stop over glorifying the exits and the quantity, because people can congratulate each other when they launch new projects. But for me, if somebody was building a thing and then instead of improving that thing, they launched a new project, and they have 12 projects and all of them are doing no revenues. Like if you have successful projects, launch new projects, that's no problem. But I think indie hackers should be more strategic on
Mm-hmm.
quantity versus quality, and also they should not just aim for acquisitions, because now I feel like pretty much every indie hacker has a plan to build something, grow it, and sell it, and people congratulate each other when they exit. And for me, I don't congratulate people when they exit, because I think it's not the right way to build business. So basically, you build a business, you get users on it, users trust you, you sell your SaaS using your own personal brand, and you get their money, you get their time, they use it, and then suddenly you sell it to someone. And 90% of projects die after being sold. It means that
Mm.
basically you kill the project. You make the money, but usually the person who buys it, like in case of indie hackers, it's other indie hackers who buy it. and usually it's very unexperienced indie hackers who buy it, those who can't build the project on their own, and those who can't build a project usually can't maintain the project too, so they eventually run it and then the whole thing dies. So that's not good, and I think the users are very skeptical, and people ask me very often, they ask me like, why should I use your service? What if you abandon it because you run so many projects? What if you sell it and then the new owner just changes the pricing or just kills the project or pivots it? And that's bad, and that's why I'm on the edge of rebranding myself, and I might just remove the IndieHacker tag from me, and I'm doing that already. So when I speak about myself, I say I'm a startup founder because I don't want to say I'm an IndieHacker because it doesn't sound serious anymore. And
Mm.
and I think we have to solve it. I think IndieHackers should solve it. Otherwise, they will only sell to each other because now the IndieHackers are selling to each other, and that's a problem because uh, there's not much economy within. You have to have economy from outside, like the regular business owners have to enter the space and buy from the hackers, and they don't want because they don't see this group as serious group. And I don't want to
Mm.
offend everyone, no, but we have to admit the truth. So the majority of outsiders think that indie hackers are not serious. Indie hackers are there just to ship stuff, and I think we have to be there to bring value. So we want to be useful to users. We don't just want to ship stuff fast and that's it. That's not the goal. The goal is to uh, build good projects and solve problems for the users.
Yeah. I feel we just need to go back to the origin of how, like, why we do business, because one thing I liked about indie hacking, like when I was doing it before I heard of the term, and the early indie hackers that stoked my my fancy, like just made me like them, were like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, where they were building the first computers in their basements, and like just getting outside users to just pay them money to build these big
Yeah.
boxes and then use like, and even Bill Gates with all that, like those are, and now we have Microsoft, now we have Apple, like businesses that were built to last. Like just imagine that Steve Jobs be like, you know what? I don't think we're gonna have more users now. Let's move on to the next thing. We'll never have Apple, right? Or
Yeah.
of Gates just moving from like, oh, I think let's build another software. We won't have Microsoft, right? But I feel,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like, I don't know which came first, because I know there's a need to make money, right? Which is, of course, every business should make money. But then, is it the expectation of quick money, especially with your MRR post online? Everybody's going to congratulate you if you have, like, okay, I'm making $4,000 per month, and that's good. But in terms of long term, I don't think there's more, because I think we're more influencing based, because back then, like Gates or Jobs, they're not going to post MRR. Like, there ain't nobody doing that. They're just busy, just iterating on the stuff, making it better, selling to actual users that are not techie, they're not tech savvy. They just want to buy their everyday stuff, like everyday people buying software. And which is what you say, right? Because these days when I see people launch stuff and we see the testimonials, there are other indie
Yeah.
hackers that I know. So now I'm a bit skeptical. Like, okay, are you saying this because you're this person's friend, or you're saying it because you actually like the stuff? So
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
see a regular person who is not in the indie hacking space liking this stuff. It makes so we don't know which praises are real or which praises are just helping out your fellow indie hacker. It's
Yeah.
weird, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's why I hate to say that, but I think the product hunt has lost the relevance mainly
Mm.
because the indie hackers win it all the time because we have large community and everybody upvotes everyone, and suddenly all projects from indie hackers get to the top, which doesn't mean it's the best project, right? Which does not mean, and that was the reason why Product Hunt uh, started featuring projects manually and non-featuring the indie hacker projects. They did that,
Mm.
and I think that makes sense. To be honest, I'm being very careful with words here, but I think
Yeah.
in the modern world, the good project is the one that actually has users from outside of the inner community and that's been there for a while. And I think if I was product hunt and I would be evaluating businesses, I would also probably not accept the projects which have no users yet, because
Mm.
it means it's not a good project yet if there are no users. And there are some cases when projects are great without users, but as a rule of thumb, you will probably do a good job by just saying we only accept projects with users and we don't count friends as users. And it may sound painfully, but I think we have to be honest with ourselves. And friends are not users, friends are just testers. Even if they pay their testers, they pay because they're good friends. And
Mm.
that's why I think the IndieHacker world should really understand that we need to build higher quality products. We can start easy, validate things, MVP, waitlist. That's great. That's something I recommend at the early start always, because you have to understand whether you have the ability to promote this project, as I said earlier. But once you get to the market, once you have the product on the market, I think it makes a lot of sense to start focusing on improving the product and making it really good, rather than focusing on just building one more product at that point. Like, I would say never build second project unless your first project is successful. Like, people tell me you built a lot of projects. No, I did not build a lot of projects originally. So I built one project that was successful. I was running just one company and I made it successful. It's a cinema software. And when it was, and I spent 10 years there. 10 years. Most people didn't spend 10
Mm.
months building stuff. I spent 10 years building that. And then when that was successful and there was nothing more I could do day to day, and I could delegate, and the company became like a real company that just runs, not a startup anymore, then I went on and started building next stuff. And my next thing was also just one project. So I started, it was the Unicorn platform, which I bought, and I just spent year only improving that. There was no other projects I launched that year. And then when I managed to make it really good and people loved it and it went outside of IndieHacker community, it has 100,000 users back then. That's a lot more than IndieHackers. And now it has 250,000. So then I felt like I can launch the next project. But when people look at
Mm.
me, they think, well, you have a lot of projects. If I build a lot of projects, I will be successful. No, you have to look not at the present of me, but that you have to look at my path, the way I started and what I did on the way. And I did not build 24 projects right away. I built
Mm.
one for 10 years, then another one for almost 2 years, and then I went for building more projects.
Mm. Yeah, and I think there are hardly any lessons you can take away from someone's when they've arrived, like the output, especially when you want to replicate. You would have a better chance when you focus on the process. Like what you just said, from the outside, especially people who like the output signals, like, oh, you have 24 products that you have 100,000 K in MRR and all that. But what good would that really do for you as an indie hacker starting out, as an entrepreneur starting out? It will just make you be like, I feel it will make you want to even do the shallow and just keep building
Yeah,
stuff until you
it
find the
does
one
the
that got
opposite.
lucky.
That's why I
Yeah.
stopped posting my MRRs almost a year ago. So I never posted it again, because I think that whenever I post something that looks successful, people will feel like they are missing out on something. They feel they are doing something wrong, and they will look at where I am and they will try to do what I do. It's like
Mhm.
somebody gonna say, John has 24 projects, I will build 24 projects too. No, that's not what you have to do. And it's like, you have to imitate the process, not the outcome, right? The process and the
Yes.
outcome for you might be different. And
Mhm.
but if you imitate my process from the start, because you were at the start, Like if you are the beginner,
Exactly.
you cannot start from my, final point. You have to go back when I was the beginner too and do what I did when I was a beginner. And when I was a
Mm,
beginner, I did just one project, only one, putting all my effort there, learning all the skills a founder needs to have to build successful business. And there's a lot of
mhm,
skills, not just
mm,
building and coding is the smallest part of that, but it's a lot of things like UX. You have to learn UX really well. Like most founders don't realize how important UX is. Then you have to learn design, then you have to learn copywriting, not for the blog but for your own product, the labels on the buttons and the UI, and then all the other things. So I think and whenever I talk about that, I see one thing. Whenever I talk about this path, which sounds very difficult by the way, because it's not just straightforward. You have to do something for a long time. Nobody likes that. People don't bookmark or like or comment or repost that. People always repost when you say this is the easy path and you can I got from 0 to 30K in MRR in 3 months. Like I saw the tweet like that today. Like the guy says, I get from 0 to 30K MRR in 3 months, and here's what I did. Well, and then it's really viral, and people read that and they think that they can do that. But the guy forgot to say that before this project, he has been doing it for 10 years and built a lot of successful projects before. And that's why
mm,
the experience he has now is pretty much irrelevant. It's like Lionel Messi would say, I came to the pitch and I run and I score and I win the World Cup. And that's all you have to do. You have to wake up in the morning, take a shower, go to the pitch, and you win the World Cup. I think this is really good analogy. I love the one I made now. But that's exactly
I
how it
love it.
sounds.
Yeah. Oh my god. I thought I thought I don't know because I feel for me, right, there are few people because I like to study people a lot, and we're gonna get to that in a bit for you. But how I like to study people because when I see a successful person, I know their outcome is not what I want, right? Because we're all different. We want different things.
Yeah.
I know what I want, but if I look at your output, it does me no good. So I want to go back, like where did you start from? What are the decisions you made? What are the mistakes you made? How can I learn from it? So that depth of going back, it's not it's not it's not like worthy, let's put it that way, right? No one is gonna do like a thread on all their failures, all their
Yeah.
lessons, and expect to go viral. No. But if you
Yeah.
post from 0 to 30K, people like it. So I don't know, it's a chicken and egg problem. The what the majority like influencing what indie hackers are posting, or indie hackers posting just this signaling to make themselves go viral and more people to just think this is the easy path. So I don't know which comes first.
I think we're driven by the algorithms, and if you tweet
Mm-hmm.
10 times and one tweet goes viral, you try to repeat what went viral, right? And I tried to do that in the past too, and that brought me a lot of clicks and likes and followers. But at some point I stopped because I just I realized that it brings wrong people. So I am going after founders. So I'm running B2B businesses. So my customers are founders. But I realized that majority of my customers are those who want to succeed quick. So I have people signing up for my product, and then in 3 months they cancel, and then I ask why, and they say, "Well, I thought I will make money in 3 months, but I didn't make money in 3 months, and I can't pay." I'm like, "So you really expected to make money in 3 months?" He said, "Well, I expected earlier, and it took 3 months, and now I can't do that anymore. I have to go back to a job." I'm like, "You shouldn't have left your job. Like, what did you expect?" Well, he says, I read an article on Reddit where a guy made 2K a month after 30 days, and that was paying his bills, and I want to do the same. So it's a lot of people like that, like very wrong narrative, and it hurts everyone. And that's why now I'm trying to focus more on the content that's thoughtful and that's attracting people who actually in the game for a long time, not those who come there. Like someone said that IndieHacker community turned into dropshipping last year. I think it was either Danny Postma or Peter Levels. And I think what they meant is that dropshipping is an area where people usually come from completely other business. Like, for example, a taxi driver, he quits his taxi driving job for a month and he comes to dropshipping because he heard that people make millions there. He tries and then he flips things around and he loses all the money he saved for that thing, and then he goes back to driving taxi. And that's the real dropshipping world. And the same happened in IndieHacker world now. So we have people coming in there from other areas, and they really think that they can just, there's kind of a path to revenue, a path to independence that's guaranteed, that takes few months only, or sometimes even less. And I think at the same time, there are founders who understand stuff, and I'm now trying to reach the founders who are in for a long game and who understand how hard it is and who are there to stay for years and decades to build stuff. And also, since I have some influence already on the IndieHacker community, I'm trying to slowly re-educate the community and in a way that, that it doesn't sound too depressive, but little truth at a time. So I'm trying to bring little truth at a time. For example, I made this tweet yesterday where I said, the best way to fail as an indie hacker is to just keep doing the things that you like. Because you might be lucky and the things you like make you rich, but that's very rare. Even when you ask people who are successful, they never tell you that I've been just doing things I love. They say I love what I do, but the tasks I do every day aren't my favorite tasks. And same here. So indie hackers tend to ship and build a lot and not do anything else. And I'm trying to send the light to the fact that you guys should build what the product needs, not what you want, but what your business wants. And that's very different. Like the business wants you to do certain things at certain stages. So at this early stage, business wants you to talk to the customer early so that you are not just building a random thing you invented in your head and you think everybody wants, right? So to build something people want, you have to ask people, because you don't know for the people. If you could predict what other people want, you could predict stock market, you could predict everything, you would be billionaire, right? But you're not. It means you can't predict what other people want, so you have to ask them first. That's where you start. But then once you ask people and you know roughly what they want, after this stage, you have to build the stuff so that you don't have to ask them again, but you show them, because you can't go too far by asking people, because people are not that good at imagining your product. They will say, yeah, the problem sounds painful, I would maybe pay for that. All right, that's a good start. But now you have to hand them something they could try so that you can see whether they actually go with it. Something simple. So now you're on MVP stage and you have to give it to the users really fast, because they don't want to wait too long. When they get it, the chance that they're going to love it is zero. So they're going to hate it. Like, be prepared. When they hate it, now you have to improve that and reiterate and send them back the new version, ideally tomorrow. Like, not in a month, not in a week, but tomorrow. And then the after tomorrow. So you have to send them new versions every day until you see that they're getting more and more happy about what you show them, and now you understand I'm on the right trajectory, right? And that's really, really hard, because very often you just want to build some tech part of the project that you think is important, but user won't benefit from that, and user will benefit from something else, and you don't want to build that part. And that's why, like, we really fight with our ego when we're founders, because all the time we want to do something that comes from our heart, but that almost never matches what the world wants us to do. And that's why you see founders saying, I've been building this thing for a year, I've been working hard, but it didn't work. I'm like, you work hard, but you work on the wrong thing. Not the whole project. The project is not wrong, but you work on a lot of small wrong things. That's what you have to understand. Like, not the project, but little tasks you did every hour, every day. Those tasks were wrong. You did them because you wanted to do them, because you like that little SDK you wanted to integrate. You like that new version of Tailwind kit. You brought it in. Like, that's what we see. But that is not something what your customers wanted.
Yeah. And it's just like the point where features are not necessarily valued to customers, but they are more like you wanted to have those features, because customers don't buy features, they buy the problems you're solving, because they have problems. So are you saving them time? Are you saving them money? So the features are just the vehicle to do that. And just imagine you're building a feature that is empty, that doesn't really do that for them, or you're not even able to like sell them that, okay, this is what it does. So you're selling them features instead of like the problems you're going to solve for them. That's really interesting. I think this is so much fun, but I want to segue into like an article you wrote, which is you and like based on the exit thing we said that IndieHackers just they built to sell most of the time. So you bought a business for $800,000, and then the growth of that business stopped. So can you talk to me about your experience and how you turned it around?
Well, I wanted to enter the IndieHacker world and the Bootstrap world, and the fastest way to do that was to acquire an existing popular project rather than just building from scratch, because that would just speed up the whole process. That was my idea. So I found a project I really liked. I followed a lot of projects for a year, and then I felt like I liked one project more than the others. It was pretty small, like back then, but it was having good press. Like, people were telling good things about it. So I offered. I sent a DM to a founder, and we agreed about the sale right away in the Telegram, and I bought it. And what happened right after when I bought it is that, like, the IndieHacker projects are so attached to founders. Like, basically, when you buy a product from a founder, you kind of buy a little piece of the founder. So you're subscribing to the founder often, not to the product. And once the product changes hands, people don't feel attached to the product anymore, because they were actually attached to the founder. And in this project particularly, the founder was a very nice guy and very liked by the community. And a lot of the people used the product because they liked the founder. Some used because they liked the product, but a lot of them were closing their eyes for some of the problems of the product because they liked the founder, they wanted to help the founder, and they had an empathy for the founder. That's why when the product changed hands, I saw really high growth on churn. So basically, we had churn on a rate of 15% every month, which is a lot. So basically, in if you don't get new users in 7 months or 6 months, you lose all the users. So we started losing users, we started losing the traction, the revenue, and because there was no organic growth, there was no SEO traffic, there was some word of mouth, but it wasn't strong enough. So basically, I realized that I have to build organic sources of traffic for this project. And then the other thing that happened is that the project wasn't stable, so it would kind of, there were a lot of downtimes in the project. And at the beginning, when indie makers sell to each other, usually they don't have any users. Those who buy your product, they don't have users. That's why if your product goes down, they don't notice, because they don't have users who would tell them that, hey, your website is down, but you don't know because nobody tells you, because you have no users. And once I started to promote the project and started to gain users outside of IndieHacker community, those who had traffic, had real users, and they started to complain, like, look, like my website goes down every few days almost. I'm like, all right. So then we put the monitoring and we realized that actually we have terrible uptime. Things go down every day, like constantly. And the only reason we didn't know about that is that nobody ever complained because they were not having real users. And now we have real users. We have users who have real users. And they start to leave because they said, well, it went down once, twice, 3 times. Come on, guys, we can't run our website on your platform. So they left. And it was really hard. So basically, all the users I was bringing in, they would just leave, and we would just either we would stay on the same number of users, but I was bringing a lot of users. So I would bring 10 users, and then 10 users I brought yesterday left today. So it was basically I was on the zero. So I bring the people, and then the same number of people leave tomorrow. Yeah, so it was really, really hard. It was I realized that when you buy a product from IndieHackers, you have to understand. So I don't blame the founder who sold the product to me. It was rather me not doing good due diligence and not understanding well enough the nature of these products, because I never knew how the IndieHacker world works. And then I realized that if you buy from an IndieHacker, then you have to understand that most of his users are his friends, and friends don't complain because they are your friends, right? Or they are just not your friends, but they are your fans, they're your followers, and they don't run any serious business. They just use it because it's cool to use your product. In the hacker world, you see, like, once somebody puts in Nostripe or buys air fryer, everybody goes and buys the air fryer. So basically, people behave as a cult. So there are some famous makers, and if famous makers do something, others just buy from them or mimic them just to be cool. And same happens with products. So you may buy a product that has 10 or 20 or 40,000 users, but majority of the users will be friends of the IndieHacker or the people who are his fans, and they never complain about things because they're just not real entrepreneurs. They're rather just I don't want to offend them, but it's like a entrepreneurs where people don't really do it for the sake of success, but they do it to be part of community. They just buy some subscriptions just to be part of community.
Wow.
And so it took me 2 years to, or even more than 2 years, to solve the issues and to improve the product and to build up the new organic channels outside of indie community, so that I have people who, because indie makers are also poor, they can't pay more than $20 a month, and that's too little to have sustainable business. Like, how many people you need in your user base if they pay just $20 a month? You need a lot. So people have to pay like at least 50 so that your product is sustainable. And I had to do a lot of work on finding those channels, but I managed. So now it's now we have 250,000 users, and the churn is pretty low, and it's pretty stable. So now it's real business. So now it's not like the small IndieHacker project anymore. Now it's a real platform. I think it's one of the like, I would say, their best website builders. When I say best, I say the most established ones, like Wix, Squarespace, Webflow, and Framer, and WordPress. And then in the next wave of runner-ups, or the rising stars, I think we are probably one of the best when it comes to growth and when it comes to the feedback from the users. So now we're going, basically next year I'm planning to go after the big guys. So next year I will go head to head to compete with with Webflow and Framer and all the others, because we are ready for that now.
Yeah. That's such the story. And I think you have the first-hand beta experience of the facade that is the indie hacking community most times, where all the hype, the bubble, the tractions are mostly just fans and friends, and
Yeah,
there are no real users in the mix. And you wouldn't know, especially if you're just, oh wow, this guy posts about this stuff, and there's like 2,000 likes and stuff, and you will think like, okay, yeah, this is good signal. People like this stuff, but not really. They're not. And so back to your point on like indie hackers like being poor, I the thing I take from it is like mostly if I don't really have a real use case for your project, and this thing is not really going to make me money by it's either it's saving me time or it's saving me money, then I wouldn't want to pay $50 for it per month. And that's why they'll tell you price your stuff like $9, $15, because anyone can just throw that at you, like maybe for the first 2 months or 3 months. They could just throw that at you, and then you're gonna tell us that
yeah,
you're making them out. But real people that steal the real values to stuff, they pay for expensive software all the time
yeah,
because they know what they're getting. So they're either using it for their users, or they're using it for themselves. Like, and this is a part of their business. Keyword there is they're having a business, they have a use case that they're doing that they solve a pain. It's not hype for them. They don't even come to social media and tweet about
yeah.
it. No, they just use it and it's solving the pain for them. So once you find those sort of people, and again, they're outside the indie hacking community, because how many so if all of us launch 10 projects, how can that go around in the economics of things for me to pay 20 like $20 for your project, I pay for like 9 others? It's just me. It doesn't make any sense, right? But
Yeah.
once you go out and real people that have the real use case for them start paying, then you've actually made a business, not just something to launch on like just launch on Twitter or on PH, So like
I
that's the real
learned one
test.
thing. I learned one interesting thing, like an insight. So if you have a price tag that's, let's say, $49, so not 9, not 19, but 49. The difference is that if people pay you $49 a month, they need your product. They actually need it. It means that they need it, and probably their business will benefit from it, and they see it. When you have a lower price tag, people buy products they don't need. And I think, like, I always tell founders about that you should, like, if people don't pay you 49, it's not because it's too expensive, it's because they don't need it. And if you make it cheaper, they may pay for it, but they still don't need it. And there's nothing worse than having a customer who pays you but who doesn't need your product, because that
Mm,
customer will not share it, will not be your ambassador, and will not give you good feedback. So basically you're entering the wrong room with a customer, and that's the best way to go nowhere from there. So, and that's what I learned when I started running projects. They're more expensive. That you have customers who are by default able to pay. They have business that makes money, and they need it. They actually need, because that's why they are willing to pay.
yeah. I wrote a newsletter issue for this um stuff. So I said build need, not want,
Yeah,
because people could want anything. Like we've all said that, like, I could want something because someone popular say that, okay, this is really good. And I look at the price tag and it's like $9, $5. Oh, I can afford that. I don't
yeah,
need it,
yeah.
but I
Exactly,
want it.
exactly,
So I pay for it
exactly.
and I don't even touch it. Like I know courses that I've bought and I don't even know how to log in to get the course anymore because I haven't touched it in a while. But someone famous said that, oh,
Yeah.
get this course, it's really good. And then I got it. I took like maybe one video and I'm like, well, I don't, oh well, just just leave it. That's a bad buy. Then I never actually talk about it again. But like
Hmm.
when you move to the other part of building what people need, like like this software that we're doing this from right now, I always want to pay for it because I need it. I can't have guests for this podcast without it. So it's not like I need it and it's so good. I actually talk about it and I always look forward to like, okay, paying for it because it's really solving the real pain, which is getting guests and making sure that their videos are really good. So even if there's internet issues, it doesn't come out when I download it. It's an actual need for me to do this. So no matter the price tag, I'm going to pay for it. So
Yeah.
that's what I think businesses should be about, like building stuff like people cannot live without and they really want it.
Yep.
Yeah. So this has been fun. So let's talk about, you said a couple of things, a couple of lessons you've learned, especially from the $800,000 buy, which is mind blowing, and how you turned that around. So what are 3 opinions you've held in the past on life or business that you've changed your mind on?
I thought that it's not that important to have a good product, and it's more important to have good distribution. And I think a lot of people think so too right now, and I think that's false. So people really think that you can have bad product and be successful because they say, look at Microsoft, they have shit product, etc. But I think people totally confuse things. So you cannot take Microsoft example because Microsoft has built an amazing product first. And once you have an amazing product, you can launch shit products to the same audience and they will buy it because it's connected to your product or there's some bundle deal or set, etc. But the original product of Microsoft was amazing. Like same for all other companies. So that's why I realized this, that in the past I thought that distribution is more important than the product, and I see that being a meme on the internet where people say distribution is more important. No, it is not. And no, I have not seen amazing products that can't find their users. Usually, like people who say I have an amazing product, but I suck at marketing. No, my friend, you suck at product. Your product is not amazing. I'm sorry, and that's one thing I learned. One thing I learned.
Mm-hmm.
If my product is not doing well, it's because the product is bad, not because the marketing is bad.
Mm.
And the other thing I learned is that it's really, really difficult to have people being productive when they're employed for you in a long period of time. So I have employed a lot of people over my life, like hundreds or a lot more. And I made big bets on people, so I spent time, and kind of the way I saw it is that like people were like products for me. I developed the people, and then the people will produce stuff I want. But then I realized that it is not sustainable. So over time, after 3, 4, 5 years, people just lose esteem because it's from their point. From my point, it's business. We're growing, but from their point, it's just a job. So they have fire in their eyes for some years, but eventually they get kids, they have wife, they have personal things to do. So, and I can't expect them to care about my business the way I care. I thought I can. I thought they will care about it because they cared at the start. But then I learned that over time they don't. That's why if you want to have somebody who cares about the business for a decade, you have to make them a co-founder. Otherwise, they will not. Like just on the salary, they will eventually kind of lose esteem. And the third thing is that I underestimated social media. So in the past, I would just use social media for my personal needs, but I never use it for business. I thought that using social media for business is a waste of time, and maybe it makes sense for big brands like Nike and Coca-Cola, but not for people like me. And I started using it just a year ago, and I grew really fast there. But what I learned is that so many doors were open for me, not just the marketing, but I met so many people, I made so many friends, partnerships. People reached out to me who were beneficial to me, and so I think social media should be leveraged by people, and I regret not knowing that for majority of my business career, and I just start using it recently. So the new coming founders, I think they should be social media native from the beginning for their business. Yeah, these three things.
That's amazing. I love I think I love all of them, especially the second one, which is like keeping people motivated to do work for a long term. It's not easy. And it's
Mm-hmm.
something like you as a founder, you see the vision, you feel the vision, you live the vision. And like at the early stage, they might be excited about the vision as well. But again, people have interest and they're sort of like just maybe like an anticlimax in time. And
Yeah,
then it's a lot, it's a hard problem to like manage people to build stuff over time and
it
also
is.
keep them
It is the
motivated.
hardest problem.
Yeah.
For me, it is the harder. Like now, I have solved everything: distribution and the quality of the products, the ideas, everything. The key struggle I have today is that people who help me build these products, they have these waves of productivity. So sometimes they're productive, and sometimes they're just unproductive, and you can't do anything with that because if you push them, then they burn out, right? Um, and and
Mm.
and it's complicated. But now my bigger goal is to build my system in a way that I need less people. Uh, so
Yeah.
basically, I want to just automate more stuff so that people have to do less. And then when they have to do less, they can do better quality output because there's less amount of work to do. Because when there's a lot of work to do, you start just producing lower quality too.
That's true. Yeah, it's an interesting problem, and that's one of the things you have to solve as a founder
Yeah,
as well. Yeah. So let's talk about SEO because I know you have a product SEO bot AI.com.
yeah,
I think that should be
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'm one of the people who, when I hear SEO being thrown here and there, I'll be like, oh, well, I think I understand it, but I don't think I've given it enough attention as it is for my businesses. So, why is SEO so important in making or breaking a product? Because I see it's like everywhere. There are tools about it. So that means people actually need it and it's actually a real pain. Like, why does
Mm-hmm.
it make or break a business or a product even?
Yeah, I think SEO is really, really important. It's more important than anyone thinks for two reasons. So, reason number one is that you get traffic from it. That's the obvious reason. But the other reason, which is maybe even more important, is that the reason you get traffic from SEO is that you are communicating your product in a way that it matches the search intent of the people, right? Which means that even if you send your link to someone, the text on the page will do better if it is SEO optimized. Because if people search for exactly this term, it means that it's natural for people to search for this problem in this way. And if the text on your page has those terms, then it's easier for people to understand what your product does. So that's why I see SEO as two-sided value. One is the traffic, and the other is it helps you to write better text and copy on your pages. Regarding traffic, right now I have in some products I have over half over 50% of my traffic from SEO. On others, I have 10%. So, but overall, it's pretty strong traffic coming from SEO. And sometimes the conversion rate is very high when the traffic is high intent, when people land by searching for a thing that overlaps with my product. And I started SEO just last year, and that was also the thing I regret. The number 4 thing I regret that I never utilized SEO in full. And I ended up building products to automate SEO because there's a lot of work to do in SEO. It's a lot more than people think. So you have to work on a page, on a blog, on keywords. You have to make sure that the tech is ready for that. You have to get backlinks to your website and also to all the sub pages. You have to interlink your internal pages. So it's a lot of work to do with SEO. Overall, the work is not difficult. So every task is simple, but it's almost like a gym. You have to do it every day. Like everything you have to do every day. You have to find backlinks every day. You have to write content every day. You have to optimize content every day. Like you have to repeat that every day, and it's very boring, extremely boring. Like no developer gonna like that, really. And that's why I built the tools for that to automate that part, and they work really well because they're AI powered. And I would recommend people to basically, if they are like me, they're like busy founders, I would recommend use a tool that does it for you, but then help the tool yourself. Like in the modern world, the best thing you can do is AI plus human. So whenever you use a tool that does things for you, go help that tool to do the work better, like moderate the content it produces, improve it slightly. And now basically the tool functions as a draft maker and you're the chief editor. And then you produce really high quality content. And that's what I do. So I produce all my content with SEO bot, but then I look at the content that gets views and then I improve that content manually so that it is as good as if I written that content. And then it works pretty well.
Thank you. I think I've learned. I think I should. From what you said, I think the next thing, which is like going deep in a business, is that I have to focus on SEO some more because I do some content marketing, like writing blog posts and all that stuff. But SEO, I've just been like this thing I know I should do, but I don't. So I think this should be my clarion call to start doing more SEO in my business.
Oh
In my
yeah,
businesses.
You should
Yeah.
start it yesterday.
Yeah. So where do you think I should start? Like, let's say, so someone like me as a founder who don't pay attention to SEO, like, how do we start? Yeah.
I think the best way to start is to connect AI blog generator. I'm not promoting my tool. You can use, like, there are hundreds of them. So pick any and connect it because it won't hurt. Like some people say, what if Google will punish me for that? No, they will not. For 10 articles generated with AI, nothing gonna happen to you that's bad, but maybe some good things may happen. Because the way it works with SEO, like I promise you, the moment you see traffic on SEO, you will suddenly want to do more because it's like a dopamine. Like once you see those clicks, the charts going up, now you feel, wow, I want to do more. And that's what I saw with all the founders. Like it's addictive. Once you start, it's addictive. How to start? Well, start with AI blog generator, generate 10, 20, 50, 100 articles and let it run for a month or two, and then keep checking your search console. And once you see traffic, you will really want to go in and do more. Like there will be no need to convince yourself. That urge will come.
Yeah. So use AI to solve your SEO block or to solve your
Start that
reluctance to
way.
do SEO. Yeah.
Start that way. But in a long-term game, of course, if everyone is using AI to generate blogs, but SEO is a zero-sum game. Like there is X amount of traffic on internet that's distributed on all the websites, and if all use AI generated content, then nothing changes. So that's why if you want to win, you have to start with AI generated content, but then you have to do some manual work too.
I love it. I love it. So we're wrapping up really soon. This has been really insightful, and I think all your thoughts are so brilliant in businesses.
Thank you.
I love them. So 2 questions, then we call it. Okay. So let's do rapid. Let's just do rapid session. You could just answer as short as you can, so I could let you
Okay.
go really soon because we're all busy people. So, what are the people you're currently studying and why? Just give us 3.
Sorry again.
Yeah, like what are the people you're currently studying and why are you studying them? Like it's business, it's life, like people you want to learn
Yeah,
their
I get it.
processes.
I get it. I like Hormozy a lot. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people call him a typical scum influencer, but I think he is very smart. Of course, he's using the techniques on the internet to win attention, the hooks and the hacks and the tricks. But that means he's smart if he's using that. So I really like his content on a lot of the things, especially on cold marketing and pretty much on everything. So I watch at least one piece of content from him or read every day since this summer. So he's one person. Then I also study some of the good projects I like. Like I find these Bootstrap projects I like, and then I just try to find their stories from the beginning, because like right now I'm in a place where I have to scale my business from 1 to 100. So I go from 0 to 1 really well. I know how to get there. Like I get from 0 to 30k in MRR with a tool, basically with a guarantee almost. But going from 30k to a million, it's a different story. Basically you are becoming a real business, and I haven't done that often. So I've done that just once before or twice, and those experiences are not going to apply here because it was a long time ago and it was different business. So that's why I'm trying to learn how other founders went from 30k to a million, and I'm just searching every day for those stories. And now I realize that I actually should publish those stories because other people would benefit from those stories too. So that's
Yes.
the second group of people I'm studying, like those who went from 30k to a million. And the bootstrap people, because VC back world is different. Like there you just go with paid ads. It's way easier, just pay for growth. And the last thing that I'm researching now is the people who win attention in a new way. For example, there's a guy who makes memes like Jason Levin, and then there are more people who are making unusual content on the internet, and I want to know how to make the content that drives attention. And right now I'm making pretty much regular content, but I experiment with things. Like if you follow me on X, you would probably see I experimented with drama recaps, for example. Nobody has done it before, so drama recaps, I would just, in a very fun and fast way, I would run through all the stories and make them sound slightly funny, almost like a stand-up comedy. And it went really viral, like millions of views. I like that because whenever you do things other people do, tomorrow more people do because you do it and they copy, and then suddenly there is little attention for that because everybody is doing it. So that's why I'm trying to learn new formats, and I learn from people on X. So basically, there are quite some people who are doing it, and I try to learn from comedians. So that kind of sounds funny, but I'm learning from stand-up comedians a lot now. I have like 10, 20 accounts of American and British stand-up comedians, and I'm trying to learn how they make funny jokes, which are also smart.
I love it. Definitely gonna learn a couple from these people you're studying. Thank you for sharing that. So the second one is What are the tools or processes that you can't live without, as a founder or in life? Because
Yeah.
you do, yeah. So the tools you use, the processes. I'm more interested in the processes because there's so much you could learn from that. Yeah.
I think there are two things. So I can't live without ChatGPT because I talk to it all day long, all day. But now I talk to Grok from X, by the way.
Okay.
But it's kind of the same thing. Like they chat
Yeah.
AI.
AI
Grok is
chat.
really good because it has access to real-time data. It's so good. And I talk to it every day, every hour. It's my co-founder basically. I discuss everything I do with it, and I ask it to help all the time. So that's one thing. If you remove that, like honestly, if you take away that from me, I will quit doing business. I will go raise potatoes because I don't know how to go back to the world without that. And the other tool is Discord. I love Discord, and I use Discord for everything, for chats, for project management, for support, for community,
Mm.
etc. It's so easy to run things in a chat compared to running it in documents and tasks, because documents, tasks, and things like that, it's hard to navigate because you have to remember things. But with chat, it's like a feed, and everything is there. Both the discussions, the documents, the screenshots, everything is there. And I like that more. Some people find it very chaotic, but for me, I like this chaos because I can just scroll and upload everything in my head, and now I'm in a context. But when it comes to task boards and things like that, it's hard. You have to go in and out every task, and they have long descriptions, so it's more difficult. So these two tools, like chatbots and Discord, I just love them.
I love it. So lastly, what advice will you not give to someone who's just starting out their indie hacking and entrepreneurship journey?
Would not.
Yeah.
Things to not do. All right, that's interesting. I've never been asked what not to do. I would say
Yeah.
that you should not expect the journey to be quick. You should not expect to make any money in a month or even a year. That's why do not quit your job. Like, do not quit your job. Most successful makers in the world, like even Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, I think they were still employed or they were working for someone while starting the thing. Same, the Google founders were still, PhD students on a scholarship, and it's always like that. Like Mark Zuckerberg was also studying and having
Mm-hmm.
dorm room, and he didn't have to pay for things. So I think people should not quit. Like people really love these stories where, hey, I'm quitting my job and going full in with IndieHackers, and everybody's like, "Hoo, cheers, good job," and I'm like, "You are doing wrong thing." Like I always come into comments as a party pooper. I say like, "Come on, do not quit your job. Like, what you gonna eat tomorrow?" Of course, if you have a lot of money in your bank and it's enough for a year or ideally for 3 years, then you can quit it and just burn your money you saved. But in most cases, people have money for 3 months. And it's impossible. Like really, it's impossible to replace your employment income with IndieHackers income in 3 months. Nobody has ever done it. Like it's possible to go from zero to revenue in 3 months, but it's impossible for someone who is just starting out. It's only possible for those who have been doing it for years. That's why my key not to do is do not quit your job. Keep your job and do IndieHackers on weekends and evenings. And if you think that you will fail because you don't have enough time, I will tell you no, you will. If you can't build your product with a mild traction by spending just 2 days a week on a product, even spending 5 days a week will not help you. Sometimes even the opposite. When you have less time, you will be more focused on doing the right things and not wasting your time on doing some things nobody needs.
That's an amazing way to end the show, John. I love it. Do not quit your job. I love it. Thank you so much for coming. I really enjoyed this. This might just be my favorite session ever. So thank you for coming,
Yeah,
John.
thanks.
You've been amazing.
Likewise.